Back, got a great guest, Harry Ricks. We've just been having a little bit of a giggle on we off air in terms of where this show might go and where it might not go. But I think we've got some sort of framework. Would you agree, Harry?
Yeah, I'm not feeling too apprehensive at the moment.
That's good.
Awesome.
That's good. But if any of our listeners are thinking, oh, he's Harry Ricks, and the way I like to describe it, if we was on a dinner table now, serving some food, how would you introduce yourself, who you are and what is it you do?
Yeah, I'd say, hey, I'm Harry Ricks. You've already heard me chatting to someone else about some rubbish that you're maybe thinking, what on earth is that bloke over there talking about? But no, I would say I'm the founder and CEO of a tech company here based in Hull and the sixth generation of a family business called JL Ricks and Sons.
It's a little business, all right.
It's only a little one.
Yeah, it's been around for 150 years now in the city. Yeah, it's quite a well-known name around the city. And I would probably move straight off from work and start talking about far more fun things if I was at a dinner party and I'd like to have a drink in my hand. And I'd like to probably get to know you a little bit more, Leon.
No, I appreciate that. I think what we're going to do is we've got our 10 commandments we're going to ask you so we can sort of get to know you a bit better. And I'm sure we'll spin off. So first question I'm going to ask you is, what are 1 to 3 books that have greatly changed or influenced your life?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting for me is talked about sixth generation family business. One of the things that we do is we're a big distributor of hydrocarbon products. So we sell domestic heating oil along with doing loads of other things like manufacturing. We are now in the renewables game, but one of the biggest influencing books that I've read is something called Green to Gold. And it's how you can put a sustainability strategy at the heart of your business to try and give you a competitive advantage versus.
It'd be the cost, isn't it?
Yeah, and just think about what can you do to be different to other people in a market and position yourself. And when you think about sustainability and being like an oil business, people often think this guy is absolutely mad. That's the last thing that he should be talking about. But actually, we're a sixth generation family business, been around for 150 years. How do we be around for another 150 years? That's something that I'm going to have to tackle in my lifetime.
Which is an awesome question to ask yourself as well. When you think about it, I think, just for some listeners, because this goes out across the entire country, not everybody will know of Ricks, but it's just I don't think it's like a sleeping giant. What's it turning over? Is it close to, is it
700 million turnover?
It's not bad, is it?
No, turnover is a bit of a
vanity statement.
Yeah, vanity statement when it comes to a business that sells oil, because it's a very low margin business. We've got 1% margin, for example, on the majority of products that we sell. But yeah, we're employing 900 people, but our biggest employing area is now manufacturing. So yeah, we're well known for certain things that are really to do with our history, but in the last kind of 10 years or so, we've diversified more than we've diversified in the last 150 years. And we're now big into manufacturing.
Do caravans and leisure homes and things like that as well.
Yeah, anybody that comes from Hull and runs a business in Hull has done something to do with caravans at some point in their life. Yeah,
certainly have.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone in this room's probably.
I've just sold a caravan. I had a caravan for many years with the family, but my daughter's too big. She's bigger than the beds now. She's getting on to 11, going on 21 inch shape. So it's just gone. Today, the transaction went through. I'm devastated. But I think,
but I think
hey, we'll get you a new one.
But I think if you're not from Hull, you don't understand how important caravans are to this industry. It's huge and costly. It's a big part of history, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And so many people in the city are employed by the companies that to manufacture these caravans. And yeah, it's great for the city when it's boom times and people are staying at home, and the staycation boom that we've seen, it's been really good for labour rates and things like that. So long may it continue, but I think unfortunately with the state of the economy, maybe that won't be the case.
No, maybe not. But I think what's interesting with Bill, when you talk about, is it green to gold?
Yeah, gold.
Gold to gold. I was close, right? I think that as businesses and just as people, though, we need to think different about the way we are treating the environment, aren't we? Because it's not going to carry on the way it has. It's unsustainable, isn't it, the way it goes? But what sort of tips have you got for organisations thinking about looking at sustainability when we're in a massive downturn at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, you're saving energy. You're trying to be smarter in the way that you work with resources. It's good for cost saving, for one. But start small. You don't need to start on thinking about how do I completely change the way that I run my business. Maybe that's the case for us. But for someone like yourselves, for example, running an office, just turning the lights off is a great place to start. Then you might think, right, educating employees around the little things that they can do. Now that you've gone on that journey, what ideas do they have for how you could be a little bit more sustainable? You might start thinking about buying a renewable energy tariff. You might start thinking about investing in solar or something like that, putting that on your building. There's so many different things to do, and there's no one size fits all approach for every business because every business is unique. So you've really got to think small, work with other people in your industry or work with an expert and just start to come up with a bit of a plan and take small actions.
No, I love that. And I think, interestingly, we're big into tech. That's what we do. We specialize in automating people and doing all things different. And we were just having I always like to do like what predictions are going to happen next year. And one of them, what I was predicting is one of it is the green movement and to be more sustainable. But then around that is automation. I'm a huge fan and believer in automation and the way AI is going to do. What things your product accountable? That when I was in construction for many years, having to report on how much CO2 and carbon I'd used was just ridiculous. So it's about bringing in products that are simple like that, the automate process. But what would you say about automation being a huge challenge at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, if you look at some of the customers we've taken on recently, they don't want to expand and bring in more staff. They wanted to keep it small. It's more expensive by bringing people in. And we've sort of helped them transition that, and by bringing in process like automation process to fill in documents, which would take somebody 2 or 3 days. They can now do it in 10 minutes by using one person. So for us, that's been huge. More so than ever now, our customers are asking us for automation, aren't they?
Yeah.
And now you can automate using technology. That's one of the big things we're looking at.
Any other books while I dig on that question as well?
Yeah. Who was my other one?
Who? No, I don't.
Yeah. It's Jeff Smart. And it's just about hiring strategy when you're in business. And yeah,
I can dream of nodding on that.
We've changed our recruitment strategy recently, haven't we? And it's working really well. But Leon was a big building block behind that one, yeah.
You
came in and revamped the way we hire. But there's always better ideas out there, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get some great.
This book is about how the biggest mistake you can make running your business is like hiring the wrong people. And you talked there about not wanting to increase the number of people that you've got. I firmly believe having less really good people is much better than having loads and loads of people that maybe are less efficient and giving them the right tools to succeed.
Yeah.
But this book gives you a framework for basically how you go about finding that talent and how you go about process of recruitment. And I think it's the way that I think now is you're constantly recruiting. If you're running a business, you're always looking for people, thinking, are you interested in an opportunity? I would love it if you were kind of part of my team. And then I suppose what you learn after that is when you get them in your team, it's how do you retain them, keep them happy. But this book is really just about the process of hiring. That for me, being quite a young guy.
How old are you now?
28 now. That was big for me because it's a lot of responsibility. It's not just about me finding the right person. It's about offering someone an opportunity to come and work with me. And you can be taking them out of a job, or you can be promising them something that you can't necessarily deliver. And that's a really bad position to be in as an employer, especially when you're going to have your whole life working in the same city. You get a bad reputation when you start doing things like that. So get it right first time, take more time instead of rushing, thinking, let's plug a gap.
No, I love that. And I think why he's laughing is I remember a conversation we were having when I came in, and I just changed the full recruitment strategy in terms of, because these guys are technical, it's cybersecurity we deal with. Obviously, we need to have competent people, but I'm a big believer in traits over skills and what someone's natural traits can be like. So I was shopping for a new mobile phone the other day and I'm looking to bring someone in inside sales. And there's a great guy now, and I'm thinking he'd be awesome in this role. Yeah. And a bit like you, I'm constantly looking, thinking, how could that person fit into that? And I think if you don't think like that, you'd never achieve amazing things. We always talk about the Man Club. There's over 700 of us involved in that.
Yeah.
But what that's taught me in that sense is people do it for free, don't they? They do it for free and give the time. But that means that you've got to have your process and your culture so organized and so protected, because people are giving their time for free, which is even more valuable than you actually pay them if you think about it. That's why I think I was giggling. And telling that story, let's see what his opinion is when we had a recruitment company working for you, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. That was a couple of years now, was it?
Yeah.
Leon, our head to protect the culture in the business.
He's in charge of culture. That's his job, to protect it.
Yeah, just make sure we've got the right people in the right seats. And we reached out to a recruitment company, a lot of CVs, a lot. I interviewed about 10 people and I couldn't find the right one. And I thought I was the problem. I thought there's just something wrong with these people. Or is it me? All these people can't be wrong. I always found one thing where they wouldn't quite fit into the business, whether it was just on attitude or something they said. And I ended up coming back to you, didn't I? Because I called from the recruitment company and he said to me, you're just being too picky. You just need to choose somebody and get them in. So I went to Leon and I was like, I think I've been too picky. Leon, pass me the phone. I'll give him a call.
And ultimately, so what would you say to that? Is it you agree on that? Disagree?
Completely agree. Like I've been in work every days, going out the other day. Since you didn't know what you wanted, all this. I think we're looking for the right person. We're not looking for anybody. We've got a role to fill, but if we can't find the right person, we're not a big enough business in terms of what I'm running. More of a startup to just take on people. It's about finding someone that can, with a culture, be more versatile. And if you don't find that right person, you're not going to offer them the role. And whether that means that they're not going to make their commission, then that's just unfortunate. How do you approach it? Do you still work with recruitment agencies, or
We do to a certain extent, yeah. But I think the interview process, they used to filter a lot of the
Well, you say we do.
candidates.
We've not filled a role from a recruit. We've offered them it, but actually, what we've worked on, really, I don't build our own funnels. Part of the podcast actually is a part of our strategy of letting people see what we're actually like and what we're about. And we've just made a new hire, enjoying the business. And one of the facts of that was he's been watching the podcast. He knows more. He knew
all about us.
well, we've done the same. So we run events and things like that. And you mentioned we were really lucky in the office space that we have. We put on.
You're just shopping for people, aren't you?
Yeah, we shop people. We put on an event where we said, come and meet us and see what we're all about. And we can meet you, and much better than an interview where people are nervous. We put some beers on. They got to come. We asked them to do a little task before they came. And from that, we made 2 hires, and it was like a bit of promotion on LinkedIn versus going to a recruitment firm, getting a load of CVs, and you spend so much time on this stuff. So it's working smarter, isn't it? Yeah.
No, I love that. Any other books on that?
I didn't put another book, but I just put down The Economist because I think for me, it's a publication. But I'm not like one of those people that I love podcasts more than I love books, just because I like to listen to things in the car in the morning and stuff. And I listen to The Economist pretty much like every week. Yeah, just to stay up to date with current affairs, because I think it's great to read all the theories and things like that, but you've got to be up to date with what's going on in the world, and from things like The Economist or listening to other similar things. So yeah, that's something that I enjoy, is just staying up to date.
No, love it. We'll go next day now.
Yeah, I'll jump on the next one. What is your feel-good song or music that gets you focused or makes you happy?
So I'm a big music fan. I did Glastonbury this year, which was awesome. And it was recently Spotify Wrapped, wasn't it, for 2022. So where you get like your download of all of your music. So I was like, this question's timed. I found out that I was in the top 0.5% of listeners of an artist called Bonobo. Don't know if anybody knows Bonobo, but like electronic music. And
I've seen him at a festival called the Big Chill quite a while, but years ago. But they're quite an eclectic sort of.
Yeah, it's electronic music. It's really good for focus. If you want just background music, it's probably because if I want to do a task where I'm just like, it's maybe mundane or whatever, you just put something to music on just to be like, okay, because if I'm focusing on something, I have to block everything out. I can't have music, but if it's just like mundane stuff, I'll put something like that on and just work through the tasks. Yeah, it's probably why I'm in I think I spent something like 3,000 hours listening to it. And I was like, God, I need to expand my horizons.
What would you say on that in terms of productivity? Because I don't know if you see behind you, there's a tomato timer. And I've upgraded, I've gone digital, but I'm so bad with my attention. I have to break everything down to 25 minute little focus boosts. Like you, get some music on, set a timer and go. Is that a challenge for you, or what do you manage it?
One of the questions I like to jump into is about habits, and for me, that's the same. With habits, I've got to what my big habit has been, segment your day and really be precious with your time, because otherwise you just end up a busy fool, and focusing on one thing at a time is the most important habit that I can have, because I'm a useless multitasker, cannot do 2 things at once. But if I'm totally focused on something, I really get into it and I enjoy it. And I'm actually stressed when I'm trying to do more than.
What are you saying?
I believe when I started my business, I was
How long are you in the journey now? On your journey?
16 months, 14 months.
And you're working with some of the biggest global players, aren't you? You work with Ricks.
I'm working with Ricks, yeah.
We're quite a global player. But
yeah, so in Hull, we're working with a lot of the big companies, and we've delivered into 13 countries as well. And early doors, I was a busy fool. At the start, I used to be non-stop all day, and then Leon's been like a mentor to me, and I've been accountable to him.
Accountable,
I like that. Yeah.
Good plug.
So And it got to a point where I've got my little red book in there now. And even though I've got my diary electronically, I have a little red book that I plan my biggest tasks of the week and then the rest of my tasks. And I have to complete the big ones before I do the little one. And it's been a game changer for me. Absolute game changer in the last. People say to me, I don't know how you do all what you do, but it's all through being focused and breaking it down. And I always say I don't see a lot of the lads in the office because Leon's given me some office space in here as well. But when I do get in the office and I break my tasks down, I just sit there and I just totally get focused and smash
You don't see a lot of us, but do you know how many tickets does he raise when his tech's not working, when he's delivering to India or Malaysia and he needs some IT support because he's forgot to plug his
I tell you what, there's a good one for you though. I was delivering to an RT company in London, foreign RT company in London, and they had multiple places and they couldn't get the tech working. An RT company in London, and I rang these guys up. 5 minutes. So you want to be, it's good for you, isn't it? So I was in the RT company going, I'll get my company to do it. It's sorted. Job done.
I think shooting the next one, Bob.
Okay.
I'm intrigued with this one.
Right then, Harry, what purchase of £50 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
I'm going to really disappoint everyone here. Everyone's expecting something really deep and so meaningful, but I landed on a pot of hummus. And there's this new pot of hummus at Tesco's that is like the biggest pot of hummus that you could ever imagine. And it is just revolutionary.
Is it?
I love hummus.
No,
And I was like,
I love hummus.
We were saying when we were before the show that we never have the same answers. We've never had
We've never had hummus.
Never. We've done nearly 150 podcasts.
We've had gym memberships, we've had records, we've had other bits and pieces, things that keep you warm. Never
What's
hummus.
the name of this hummus?
you know what? I was like, I can't even remember the name.
It's a
of it.
bucket.
Is it flavour?
It's just like they do this jalapeno hummus, and it is. I'm talking like a yogurt-sized pot of hummus, and I love it. I eat hummus every day of the week.
Yeah.
And for me, like to be happy, food is so important. And I was like, what can I say? And I was like, actually, if I'm completely honest, as soon as I saw that in the supermarket, I was like, yeah, I'm totally getting that. I've been back.
And how much did it put you back then?
I think it's like £3.50. It's
He's on it, isn't it?
yeah, but crisps, put it in it, salads, put it with it. Yeah, anything goes with hummus, I feel like.
Oh, I love me. I had hummus with my omelette this morning.
I will be something really deep.
No.
But I was like,
Honestly, because I'll be going to Tesco for that. So
I think
it's a game changer.
No, but I think the interesting bit is food does play a massive part in some people's lives. It doesn't matter. And I absolutely love food. I just keep myself away from it. That's my problem. I love it too much.
It affects my mood so much in terms of what I eat. Like, I'm a strong believer of what you put in your body makes you feel good or bad. So I try and eat really healthy, and if it's healthy and tasty, then you're onto a winner, aren't you?
Yeah, but I think what we always talk about within mental health is huge, what you eat. And I've had this love-hate relationship. When I get too stressed, like last night, I'm running late. I have to get a takeaway for me and the kids because I haven't planned properly. They're like just like little things. I had a big meeting this morning. I knew I had this podcast today, so I got myself to bed early, got myself up early, fueled myself better. I just feel like so better today just for putting the right fuel in me this morning and just setting myself up to win. And I know we're going to jump into it a little bit in habits, but I want to move into the habit one because I'm intrigued in that. I've been tracking one habit. So Luke, who runs Andy's Man Club, he's a professional athlete, used to play rugby for Leeds Rhinos, captain of Ireland, and he does like triathlons and stuff there. And he's given me one KPI. I help him on leadership, and we check him once a week. And he helps me. He's like trying to help me around my physical and mental health a bit more, right?
Yeah.
And he gave me one KPI to track, one habit, which was sleep. And I'd never tracked my sleep. And I started to look back, and I was on 5 hours, 4.5 hours, maybe 6 if I'm lucky. And he was just like, we can't have this. So for the last 3 weeks, I think, I've been getting 8 hours, and I feel like a new man. So why I wanted to, I'm going off cuff it, is you mentioned habits are a big thing for you. Give me some examples of what you think. I can see you nodding.
I was going to go all the time we talked, but another habit that's massive for me is exercise. I am totally probably to the point where I'm like slightly addicted in my head as to got to exercise at least 4 times a week. Otherwise I'd feel rubbish. I'd feel sluggish. I start to feel like I'm not energized. Like, just for me to go and make sure that I'm doing something like 3 or 4 times a week makes a massive difference.
You play rugby, yeah?
I did indeed, yeah.
Rugby-
I'm now in the twilight of my career. I'm really not doing anything impressive anymore. But yeah, we're a rugby union player, yeah.
What position?
Back rower. So 6, 7 or 8. I just put my head in the wrong places and get kicked around. And when you get to the age of 28, you can no longer get away with that like you could.
Same as Leon.
Just started playing Masters for the other forces.
Have you?
Yeah, and it's full contact. I'm still aching now. It was good, but you've just come back from Achilles, haven't you?
Yeah.
You're a big rugby, so a big football player, big runner. And how's that affected you and your mum?
Yeah, it was the same. It's like I snapped my Achilles completely playing football in June this year, and I've never done anything like that since I did a bit of bad injury when I was about 15. But I've run every week, played football every week, and it stopped me in my tracks for 5 months. I couldn't run, walk, couldn't drive, and I felt rubbish just because I couldn't exercise. So I had to try and eat healthier. I like to take away on a weekend. I was cutting it out because I didn't want to put on lots of weight while I was training. But getting back into fitness just it helps me with my mind as well, clears my mind, helps me get where I need to be.
Yeah, because I used to see him running every Saturday. He gets running every Saturday, don't you? And I see him with his headphones on.
Do you want to tell him where you saw me running when I was running? Do you want to for you?
Gotta say it now.
You can't leave us on that.
So I was sat in Urban 44 having a breakfast and Dean ran past.
We're meant to be good.
No, this was last year. Hey, I'm out walking every morning.
Yeah, he's meant to be good. He's got health coach. He's banned. So you told him where you're banned from.
Copeland's.
What are you banned from eating in Copeland?
Cookie Monsters.
His wife and Kim rang everyone in Copeland's from where he's about and said, "Do not let this man eat Cookie Monsters."
Love it.
They're from the devil.
What's a Cookie Monster?
Boy,
Don't
I'll
eat-
buy you one Monday. If I was allowed to, I'd get you one.
I think we should have some. I don't know about.
Not me. I'm not allowed
You've
it.
been good at it.
I've been real good.
Yeah, but I think, but interesting, it's back to that thing on habits, isn't it? Because I've got off PC here, Paul. Do you want to do that next one there? Under the purchase of £50 or less.
So, do you have a lesson from a failure of yours, Harry?
Whoa. My lesson is quite closely related to one of the books. People is so important. Again, just coming back to that. The lesson was if you've made a mistake with the wrong person and you've got to work with that person every day, you've got to know when to cut ties and try and find the right person to work with you and be part of your team. My lesson is basically find the right people in the first place. If it's not working, move on and find someone new. Sounds like it's a girlfriend.
No,
you're right.
A business owner,
No,
isn't it?
but I think because, yeah, educate our listeners a bit more in terms of accountable, because I think a big challenge for yourself when I realise this is, it's a challenge in terms of to new startup, because your name just carries the way it does in terms of Bricks Group. Everyone thinks it's got bigger pockets than it has, don't they? So do you want to explain that a bit more?
Yeah, we're a startup business that's within a bigger group of businesses, but the way that Ricks operates is like 12 different brands, and so each business has to perform on its own merits, as any good business should. And I suppose for me personally as well, it's a journey. You want to be making sure that you are adding value to that business. So I completely view it as its own independent business, and it's a journey in those first 3 years to get to a point where you are achieving all of your goals. And you put a lot of work into that. You put your heart and soul into it to try and make it work. So when someone else comes in and they're maybe not aligned to that, it hurts you. I'm working all the time to try and make this happen. And I want people that are as driven on that purpose as I am, because at the end of the day, if it works, it's going to be big for them as well as big for me. They're going to be some of the first people in the door to grow a business and be part of something which is much bigger. And now that we're getting a little bit older, we're starting to go on that journey, and there's people in the business that have come on that journey with me. And I really hope that we do achieve all the big ambitions that we've got to have a really established brand, a software business built in Hull that is got a purpose that is about making the planet better, but also empowering people to have better lives, less admin in the office, which is a lot of what you guys do, and helps businesses run more effectively so people can focus on managing their business, not managing their expenses.
No, I love it. And I can see you nodding, Dino, in terms of, because I think the hard bit is, I'm the visionary in our business. So when I joined, like I said, I think 4 or 5 years ago, what was really interesting was, it was originally called virtual networking. I was like an outsourced IT support. But when I sat down with Scott and Dean and was like, what is it you guys actually think you do? Everything they told me what they did was like, I was we took a business from 3 million to 15 million in a real short space of time. And it was for none of the reasons what they thought they was doing. They give us so much more than that. So when I came in, I had to redo the vision, the mission, and what we're doing. And no, it's really simple. We help companies succeed through the adoption and use of digital technology. But that word adoption and use is like counterintuitive, because traditionally IT support was, we only get involved when it's broke, when it's fixed. And I think, I could see you nodding, because the vision changed what we was doing. And quite interested in sort of age ranges. You was around Harry's age when you started on your leadership journey, weren't you? So see you nodding around that, what big challenges do you have?
It was massive. When you came in, like I say, we was just what we thought traditionally that IT was break fix. We just respond to a problem. But then we changed the way we worked completely. Didn't want to revamp. We got better staff, better processes in place. But we started being a hell of a lot more proactive with what we was doing. We're fixing things now in the background before they even broke. And it's reducing the amount of calls we get in, the amount of support tickets. And in theory, less staff. At the minute, we're working a lot smarter.
But the big problem was my models, and I think your Jones's was, we started getting people who traditionally IT people want to sit in a cupboard and don't want to talk to people.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, this doesn't work. We need people who want to talk to people, which are not traditionally IT people. So it's like, we can bring them in and we'll have to train them, and we change the entire model. But I think it's nervous when you go do that. What you're doing is something completely new in the space you're competing against. In the tech industry, it's hugely competitive.
Yeah, you're out against VC money that's multi-million pounds, and because we're trying to do it in a far more sustainable from a cost perspective, good old Yorkshire business trying to do things.
What are you doing to make that different? Why do you think you're going to win?
So we think we're going to win because our route to market's a little bit different than those businesses paying a lot of money to acquire customers one by one. We're building software that's really robust that we can then sell to other third parties that are maybe ERP providers, accountancy packages that can use our software as like a bolt-on to their existing products. And that gives us access to thousands of customers basically overnight versus one-to-one kind of sales. It's just a different approach. And it means we can really focus on having a few big customers instead of trying to get loads of smaller customers. But the cost of acquiring that is potentially a lot cheaper than that VC kind of approach.
Yeah, love it. Do I see the next one, Dean? Quote.
Yeah. What was your favourite quote or saying that if you could share with everyone in the world, what is it and why?
It's not necessarily a quote, but I would just tell everybody to be authentic and be themselves. Don't be somebody that you're not. I think it can be really hard sometimes to be authentic, especially when you're a leader, because you've got so many preconceptions about what you should or shouldn't be doing. But actually just trying to be yourself is going to let people be most at ease with you, and you're going to understand how best to work with you, and you're going to get the best out of them. But that goes well beyond leadership. I think just in life, mental health, with the stuff that you do, people are pretending to be someone they're not. You're going to end up in a really lonely place, aren't you? Because you're not being true to yourself.
No, you've got to show vulnerability as well, even if you are a leader, because I think that gets the best out of your team as well, especially. And when I was starting on my business journey, I was really frightened going to speak to CEOs and company owners, but I was just myself and just be who I am. I'm just a guy from Hull who wants to make a difference, and I care. And I think that shows, and that's how we've grown. Authenticity. I don't pretend to be something I'm not.
But I think that's really hard, because we talk about this a lot at Man Club in terms of why I think that model works is, first and foremost, people have to turn up themselves. No doctor's sending them there. So it takes effort to turn up and say, I've got a problem. But I'm not looking at it as having a problem. I think you mentioned about going to the gym, like working out, being healthy, active. We have to do the same thing with the mind, don't we? We've got to be healthy, we've got to be active. But this word authenticity and vulnerable, I think in the leadership world, people think it's somewhat more than it's not. And it's just actually just prepared to be yourself, like you just mentioned. But it becomes really hard because I've got this theory. I've been listening to quite a lot of Jordan Peterson lately. I don't know if we all know who Jordan Peterson is. But he has this theory where most humans, he talks about most humans want to be left alone. Just want to be left alone and thinking like a school of fish. If you was a human, they want to be right in the middle of that school. They don't want to stand out. And he takes it a bit further and he says zebras, right? So why are zebras the colour they are? Any ideas?
Don't know.
No idea.
So camouflage, right? But when you question that, all the behavioural scientists looked at this and said, camouflage, it can't be camouflage because what colour's a lion?
Brown.
Yeah, brown. Yeah,
Right.
Sandy
Sandy.
colour, yeah.
You go, right? You like
Guess that.
But the point I'm making is a lion's is camouflage, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
So these behavioural scientists started going, why on earth are zebras? They're pretty stand out, don't they? So they started monitoring these zebras, right? But this is where they found it quite interesting. Is started looking at a zebra, but every time they look down to say, oh, that's one zebra there, and I'm going to categorise it. Once they look back up, they couldn't recognise which zebra it was. What they started to realise was, together, zebras are camouflaged because there's loads of them. And when a lion hunts, he has to work as a team to focus on one zebra. So these behavioural scientists at first they didn't realise that and said, what we're going to do is we're going to get a tin of paint with a brush and we're going to go paint the back of the zebra red. So we know which one's what and we can start categorising what the zebras are. What do you think happened to the zebras that was red?
They got killed.
Got eaten because they stood out from the crowd. So back to the point where I'm going this season, I think this is a challenge for leadership, but I also think it's a challenge for when we're recruiting people, is people don't want to stand out from the crowd. So it's how my question to you is, how do we empower them to be themselves and to actually stand out from the crowd and do some things different?
I think in terms of the people that are working within you,
Yeah.
well, I think you've got to lead from the front, haven't you? And when you mentioned vulnerability, I think if you show that vulnerability first, that is a really good way to, people probably expect you to stand up and be all kind of, everything's good. As soon as you can show a bit of vulnerability, then other people think, actually, well, she is the first one to stand there and put themselves out from the crowd. I've got the confidence now to follow and do the same. Yeah, just live it yourself and maybe start, and hopefully others will follow.
I love it. Great advice. You agree?
Yep, totally.
Where we're going next, I've messed it up, all right?
It's all right. I'm back on
You're back
track.
on it now.
I'm back on track.
Here he goes.
Right then, Harry, in the last 5 years, what new habit or belief has had most profound effect on your
We've
life?
done it. We've done that one.
Yeah, have you just...
We've done it.
Or you've just...
This is what we said. So you do the next one. You do the next one.
You've done me other now.
You just keep doing the red ones. You keep going back and that. Leon, do the Leon one.
Right,
Zebras, those,
yeah.
those were.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself at 18 and what advice would you ignore? Don't meet Leon.
Never nice, is it?
I think the advice I'd give to myself when I was 18 is you're never going to stop learning. Just keep absorbing as much information. I think you're pretty naive still when you're 18. I remember leaving school and thinking, oh yes, I've never got to do maths ever again. And that's probably where the start of maths really begun.
Yeah, it's just
Every single thing when you're 18 is just absorb as much knowledge as you possibly can from any opportunity that you get. If you're going to a new country, try and learn the language. If you're going to go do a job, try do it as best you possibly can to understand exactly, how to get the most out of that experience. Never do anything and just walk into it and don't take as much as you possibly can for it. Because I think the older you get, the more and more you realize that, language is a big one. I think, God, I used to sit at school and get taught Spanish. I'd love to learn a language now. It's
you can't do it, can you?
You can't do it now.
That was
It's
quick.
not as much time either. Time is a big thing. You've got so much time when you're that age. So yeah, just absorb everything.
I love it. Well, the interesting one, I just come back from Copenhagen and talking to the guy at the bar and he spoke about 70 different languages. It just blew. I just felt so inadequate. It's like us England, we just walk around and only speak one language. It's pathetic. Really, isn't it?
I was the same in Greece. I talked to a young waitress and she said she spoke 7 different languages. And I think, in my opinion, we're lazy because we expect everybody to speak English where they make the effort. And yeah, she was just amazing. She was just fluent. She spoke better English than I did. She was amazing.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
You speak English, don't you? As I do.
Without the H.
Yeah, because you still understand yours. You still
Into the next one, do you know?
Ken, we all at times feel burnt out, unfocused and unenergised and overwhelmed. What do you do if helpful? What questions do you ask yourself?
Do you want the honest answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, I'll probably just go and get quite drunk. Go and have a pint. I really think that's sometimes a really good way to advise. Get some good mates around you and go out for a beer and have a bit of fun and just forget some of your problems for a while. That's obviously not the total answer. Don't find the total answer in the bottle, but it's a really good way to. I'd love socializing. So definitely for me, I've got to do is step back and just go and enjoy life for a little bit.
Yeah.
And switch off, for that's important.
No, but if you say that, the Man Club, what we formed, was actually formed in a pub.
Yeah.
By a group of mates. So Paul was my rugby coach from being, his brother, he's one of my best friends. But obviously I know Paul was struggling, but we started it from a pub. I'm a big believer in you in terms of, I think sometimes one of my big challenges is just remembering to go spend more quality time with my friends. And because we get so wrapped up, don't we, at times in business. I really knew about this conversation today, wasn't it?
Yeah. We're doing some scores out with some leadership scores, and it's about your work-life balance. And my problem at the minute is switching off when I get home. And although I tell Leon I'm doing really good, we sent a questionnaire to my wife, and my wife answered it honestly.
Yeah, because we follow, so there's a platform called Giant that we always talk about on the show. And it's like to Google use it. It's a bit like Netflix for leadership, but they have a real good, based on psychometrics and profiles, so they're all different. But the key bit is, let me see if I get this right. What are the 5 areas? You help me on this. It's called a Peace score in it. So
Yeah.
you score yourself out of 100 for people and your
Team.
your team. So you pick your physical, your mental health, how much money you've got, your provision, your place in terms of your environment. And there's one more in there, I'm forgetting, but it's five drivers basically.
And you divide it by 5, don't you?
Yeah, divide it by 5 and you get a score of 100. But really interestingly is I knew he didn't switch off. He just never does. It never does so far. How can we do it? And me and my business partner get this as well, is we go off site every 3 months and we have a leadership off site. We get held accountable and we have business metrics like your EBIT data and all that fancy stuff. We get leadership scores where the team get asked 10 metrics about us if we're being involved as leaders. But they also send a questionnaire to your wife out as well. So how present are you being? So we have a score of 100, which is really interesting. When I first started doing this, my score was about 57, I think it was. I got absolutely rinsed. And we got you on it this quarter, didn't you? But explain that journey, because it was funny, really funny.
Yeah. Sent it out, and she messaged me back saying, "Do you want me to answer it honestly?" I was like, "Yeah, please." I think I scored out of 10 for taking work home with me. I got 2. Being on my phone at the dinner table, I got 2 out of 10. The rest, I was pretty good. But to be fair,
It was your lowest mark as well.
that was my lowest markers. And all I knew I did it. I didn't see it as a problem, but obviously my family do. So it's a bit of a wake up call. But just the main thing is, it made me self aware that if I'm sat at the dinner table and I am a buzz in my pocket, I will generally get it out. Now I'll just put it to a side. And I don't do it all the time. I'm still working on it, but I'm aware of it now.
Yeah.
It's progress in it.
What's your thoughts of that? I was getting our wives to score us.
Thinking, how are you going to get my dog to score me? So I'm probably safe now. But yeah, I mean, they're the people that matter the most, aren't they? Your family and how happy they are is critical, isn't it? So I think it's a really good idea to ask others what their perceptions are, because you always lie to yourself, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Other people are going to be far more honest,
Yeah.
especially if they care about you, so they're going to give the proper response. So,
Yeah, it's like really honest. It's like putting a mirror to yourself. Someone's actually telling you, rather than you. You've got your own perception at times. It's not actually, this is what you do. And you're like, oh yeah, you're telling me it's got to be true.
And sometimes it's not nice. Like I say, I've got good scores this quarter, and you were like, no way. But
Yeah.
I've been through the pain of having to stand up in front of people and go, my score's rubbish because actually I'm not present with my family. And I'm so involved in this mission to get this, because I used to be if this thing's doing well, this vehicle's doing well, the family will do well. But then comes a point where there's nothing more important than family, is there? Nothing more important. It was quite interesting. What I'm intrigued to know, this is a good question. You're in a family business here, right? We're a family-run business, really, aren't we? My nephew works here. Yeah, my wife works. Scott's wife works here, and you and Scott are technically like family, right? You've been together that long. Any tips for anybody else running family businesses, or is it just as mad as it is?
I think it's each time it's going to be completely unique to each different person. For me, I've just grown up my whole life knowing that I'm at some point going to go into the family business. I didn't go straight into it, which I think was a really good decision. I had other jobs first. But because it's always been something that's going to happen, I've been in a unique situation there, 6th generation. Every single kind of member of the family has worked with their forefathers, so to speak. Yeah, it's not like straightforward. I think like Dad in meetings, if he got his binoculars out to look at a presentation that I'd been working on. Like, I'd been working on it until like midnight the night before, and I'd been putting loads of effort into it. And then he had me just sat there, and that's really riled me up. And I was immediately just like really annoyed. And then you go into went into his office afterwards, and I was like, Dad, you can't do that. You just literally, the kind of conversations that you're going to have with a family member where you're having an argument, you think, we're working and we're having a family argument at the same time. This is an interesting dynamic, but it is just the way that our family has always been. That's part of our family. It's been part of the business. And that's like if you're talking about like a pillar or something that is around in your family, that's certainly there for us.
But I think, because you're a rugby player, I'm a huge believer in high performance teams. There has to be conflict. There has to be conflict. You have to not agree, because otherwise it's a dictatorship. And when you're all disagreeing, but for the common goal, I think you end up getting a better product. So would you agree, disagree?
Yeah, conflict is, we have healthy conflict in here, don't we?
It used to be quiet, but now I know meetings good with him when we're doing a strategy meeting, when he'll give me it, and I'm like, that's a healthy meeting. That's good.
Yeah, but to be fair though, conflict in the workplace for us has never really been there until we started promoting it as being healthy. You need healthy conflict in order to move forward with problems, and by like we mentioned earlier, by having that voice of an opinion, and it creates conflicts. Conflict can lead to better solutions. And it's definitely up to us, isn't it?
Yeah, we changed one of our values to be awkward, but we defined it by being positively awkward, right?
Yeah.
But I think you're never going to do, like, you've got a huge task if the business has been going 150 years. It's like a super tanker, it's beyond a super tanker. It's a fleet of super tankers, and you've got to turn it around. But you're only going to turn that around by having unique perspectives and different thinking, aren't you? But it's back to my zebra thing. People don't like to stand out and be different. It always comes back to that with for me.
Yeah, and been, I suppose, a board member of that business. I think I was a board member at the age of 26. The other youngest board members over there. So my perspective is usually completely different to everybody else's, but I'm quite proud of that. In a way, I can sit there and I've got I suppose, being a family member, I've got the confidence to stand up for some things that are maybe completely different perspective. And I think other people actually appreciate that. As you say, conflict is good. If you're sitting there and just being a yes man, or you're not going to make progress, and it's led to change. And change is difficult, and change takes conflict. Change takes a lot of hard work.
Yep.
We are slowly moving the tanker into a new direction. So
it's good. I love it.
Fantastic.
Where are we going next? I think, is it me?
No, it's me.
Go on, you go.
Who in the world would you like to interview, past or present, and why?
Yeah, I put a massive long list of people down. As I said, I was practicing this in the pub last night. It was a really good thing to engage people on. But for me, I'd pick my first generation of the Ricks family business, Robert Ricks. He ran away to sea and became like a master mariner. So he was on ships and around the British Isles, and he started off building ships in Newcastle. And as was the thing at the time, was you built a ship and you took a small share ownership in the ship. So he built a few ships, had some shares in ships, and then eventually started working on those ships and moved to Hull, and was around, we think, maybe in the fishing trade, as most people were in Hull. And I think just to go back and meet him, and as much as interviewing him, I'd love to tell him what we do today, to tell him that we build software and that it's about managing business expenses and net zero.
His legacy's ended up here.
Yeah, he'd be thinking, how on earth have we gone from building ships to this? But just to understand from him, probably more like, that's as far back as we can trace the history. Maybe it goes deeper. And you've been in my dad's office. He loves history and everything.
It's amazing. It's a museum.
Yeah, we call it the museum quarter. And we'd love to be able to track things back even further. Like, Dad's got books of when certain family members have died over the years, all of the like letters that have been written from the shipping companies in Hull to the family to say Manny was, or whatever, all these types of things. And
He's got all that.
we've got all of it, all in the museum course that you're welcome to come and
I'm coming.
have a half-day tour on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And some stuff about the city of Hull and its maritime history. But I think for us to go even further with that, to actually get the opportunity to speak to Robert Ricks would really be something.
What he set out for you guys to build. Yeah, I love that. We've got through an hour, which we've done. It doesn't feel like it. But so final question really, is there anything we should have asked you, but we didn't?
I think the one thing that the family is really passionate about is the city of Hull. So I'd love to have talked about Hull a little bit more. One of the things that Dad's been working on, which I'm sure will become part of my life at some point soon, is the Lagoon project.
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for you. I was hoping you was going to mention this because I've got a lot of friends in London. 'Cause I used to be in construction on there, and I sent them the video of the lagoon.
Yeah.
And they was like, "Oh my God, what? This couldn't." I rang my friend Simon up. I'm talking to him, and he was just blown away. But try and explain. We have got a little bit of video here, but try and explain what your dad's trying, not trying, what he's going to pull off.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. The pull off, or he'll give to me to finish.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
more of the
Yes, along with it.
I think what's actually really important in this is it's not just Dad. There's loads of other people working on this. So it's not, he's done a lot for it, but there are lots of other people. But the actual Lagoon project is to basically make Hull a destination city, a really great place to live. That's the vision for it. And the way that it achieves that is by completely revolutionizing the way that the waterfront works in the city. So it builds a lagoon.
Across the front here.
Yeah, across the
Across here, isn't it?
that connects right the way from the Humber Bridge up to the docks. And it has many benefits. So flood defense is one of them, routes in and out of the city.
Which is a nightmare for the city. That's, we've got like the Siemens and everybody all here. And when we use the M62 corridor, but we can't get people in and out of the city quick enough, can we?
Yeah, and like the docks were designed 100+ years ago, designed the docks for the Siemens factory so that we are perfectly positioned as a city to give business everything it needs to build the offshore wind industry. The final thing that it does is it completely revolutionizes the way that people in the city live. It provides beautiful space for people to enjoy luxury housing, or not necessarily affordable housing, but in a luxury location.
Sustainable, better office space, because we might end up being on there, won't we? Great view on there, won't we?
Yeah, and
some good rates, can't we?
Yeah, I'm sure I won't be setting the rates. That might be a conflict of interest. But it's thinking big in a city that I think has maybe lacked a bit of that in the past. And really, actually, we need to think big. We're going to put ourselves on the map. So anybody that's listening to this, go and follow the Lagoon project.
It looks amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Advocate it, and just every little thing that you can do to try and push it along. There's a lot of investment that needs to go into that, but all you have to do is look at what happened when we had the floods and the amount of money that got spent on the insurance for sorting out all of the damage that was done. A project like this would mean that it would be safeguarded against that, so it will repay itself. It's just that initial CapEx investment that needs to be made.
But we've always been, I did a talk at the Secret Expo the other week, and I did it on 100 years of innovations, and the Lagoon, that was obviously featured. But we paved the way. I was reading, I think it was like 1903, or I might have been around like when the Humber Bridge was first thought of. It didn't get built until 1981. But that was pioneering. It was the longest single suspension bridge in the world for a long period of time. And LCD screens was developed at Hull University. So all the screens were looking at, people watching this on YouTube. And we've always paved the way, even Chip Spice, that's one of my favourite ones. Yeah, and Patties. But we've always paved the way. And I think having the city of culture, I think, has really helped. But I've always travelled, worked all over the place, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else but Hull. I absolutely love it. I think the people are great, and we need to be. It pains me. I was in Leeds the other day. I was in Manchester the week, and like the great cities, but it's like we need to be as great, don't we? We need to be.
It's hard because of geography. We are at the end of the line, but that's what it's about. Being a destination place and having things here that people want to travel for. Yeah, hopefully we can all achieve it together.
What do you think the biggest challenges we're facing at the moment, though? Because you're on the inside. Any insider info you can give us? What are the biggest challenges?
Without being political.
Yeah.
I think it is mindset. Like that. In the people that are going to make this happen in those leadership positions have to be thinking big. We're thinking of like small tactical fixes, like, small flood barrier around the city. That might work, but it's not one benefit.
Sticky plasters.
Yeah, it's sticky plasters. It's not thinking a step change. So let's try not to do small little things. Let's do big, bold things that are going to transform. And as you say, not just put a plaster through stuff. It needs people to think not just during the time that they're in office in terms of 3 to 5 years of government or local government. It needs them to think about the next 50 years. And if we can get leaders that do that in the city, that will enable us to achieve things like this that are going to really revolutionise the city.
I love it. And I think I was coming back to put a rocket on the moon, a will to do it. And I think your dad's definitely got the will to do it. I know you've got the will to do it. And we have to make it happen, don't we?
We certainly do.
Yeah, definitely.
Be incredible, wouldn't it?
Massively incredible because it just looks amazing.
So we've got through an hour. There's just one final request. So we're sponsored by the Talk Suicide. It's a free piece of training that you can take and help save lives. And one of the questions and one of the asks is, I want you to take that piece of training and also share it. It's been put together by Public Health England. So you'll take that piece of training and you'll share that with your network for us, would you?
I'll commit. And that's Julian, no problem.
No, really appreciate that. It's been awesome. So that's Liam checking out.
Dean checking out.
That's Harry checking out.
Paul checking out.
57 minutes. And was it?
Nice. I feel like my intro was useless, but apart from
That was good.
That was good.
Welcome to The Hack, the straight-talking smart tech podcast where we discuss the ever-changing world we live in today. It's time to start thinking differently. So tune in and buckle up for some home truths as Hull and East Yorkshire's very own digital tech experts talk transformation and change, focusing on people, process and technology.